Thanks, Pete. Good afternoon, Sean.
Hiya.
Can you give us an update on the squad this week, and specifically, I suppose, is Ashley Barnes ready to return?
Well, Barnes, was in the squad last week, so that's good. He's continued his sort of journey to fitness or true fitness this week, so we expect that to be fine. Robbie Brady, Kevin Long will still be missing. People are getting back to real fitness. I mean, Corky's back in and obviously, played really strong for us last week, so he's getting back to real sort of true fitness. Barnes has still got a way to go to real fitness, but he's fit enough to be in the squad, that's for sure.
And what about JBG? Is he back?
Yeah. Well, he was in the squad as well last week, obviously, but he didn't get any game time, but he's all well.
On Chris Wood, he's hit a real streak at the moment. I just wonder, now that he's banging form, what is he doing, I suppose, at the last few matches that perhaps he wasn't doing at stages earlier in the season? Is there something you've picked up on?
No, I think mainly the team's operating in a good manner. I did say before, a very strong win at Wolves. I said I wasn't worried about the team's performances. We had to tidy up the details, and he was certainly playing his part in that. Good connection with Matej Vidra, who's come to sort of terms and got to grips really with how we operate and has learned how we operate, and he's showing good signs of that. So that's been pleasing as well. But the team around the centre forwards, I think, are performing well, and you usually find it's a double-edged sword. If your centre forwards are performing well, usually your team are around that, and if your team are performing well, usually your centre forwards are getting better chances and operating in a better manner. So there's always a close connection, I think, between your centre forwards and the team.
Because it was such a comprehensive win, I suppose it's unusual given it was the biggest in the Premier League, so it's obviously away from home, certainly. It was the best you've ever done in that respect. What's been the impact on the group this week?
I think just reinforcing the good work from the three previous games. I spoke clearly before the game that I thought we were in good form performance-wise, not with the details. We had to tidy that up, which we did do, of course. I think there's a lot of belief in how the players operate and what we do, and that was on show. So, really it was reminding them of the performance levels and how important it is to stay consistent and true to them, because if we do that, it will bring results. Now, it's fair to say you don't go into a Premier League game expecting to win 4-0 away from home, so that was obviously pleasing. So that's got to have some kind of effect on the players in the sense it builds or increases that feel-good factor and the positivity of getting good results. But as I said, we weren't a million miles away, I didn't feel, from the performances, and the players know that.
9 points clear then of the relegation zone. You've still got Fulham to play in 2 games' time. Is it tantalising to know that if you win your next 2, you will be safe?
No, not really. It's a season's work. I don't change my story on that. It always has been. The next one's most important, West Ham next week. Good side, in good form generally. Having a very strong season. So that's the next most important one. We've done very well from Game 7 to get for where we are with the points return, especially through a continued run of injuries. So I've been very pleased overall with that. But the last one doesn't know you the next one. The players here are rounded enough. We talk about it a lot. We enjoy a result, but then it gets parked quickly because the next one's coming around quickly.
The league table is important though, isn't it? Clubs like Burnley, particularly with the increased prize money on offer, the higher you can finish. So the difference potentially between finishing maybe 11th, 12th, 13th and 17th is quite stark, isn't it? So can you use that to give the players some extra motivation over the final few games?
I don't particularly think our players have ever lacked motivation. We've had moments where we haven't played as well, and form and details, but they never lacked motivation. So I expect the motivation to be there. It's not that easy. You talk about the Premier League and where you can finish and where you should finish and all these different views. I've been in it long enough, it's not that easy. Our focus remains true to what the next one offers, and where that takes us, we'll see. My main focus at the moment is making sure we get enough points tallied to be in the Premier League, because it's been a very tough season. That will remain the focus. When we get what we feel is that, then you see how far it can go. That's how we worked over the other seasons, excuse me, including last season with a lot of challenges in the last 10 games. And we've reacted well to them challenges. There's more coming, it's simple as that. So we've got to react well to the next challenges.
And just finally from me, the unified social media boycott takes place over this weekend. Do you have genuine hope that this is the sort of action that will finally make the tech giants that run the platforms take notice?
If it helps, it helps. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Football's trying to play its part in many things, it seems to me, over the last few years. The facts are the facts. The powers that be, the bodies that run these companies, eventually they've got to make decisions, I think. But if people can bring awareness to that, then of course, if that helps tidy up some of these things, then that's got to be a good thing.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Next, Katie Shannon at PLP. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Sean. We'll just continue that theme of the social media boycott this weekend.
Fantastic. Let's do that.
How powerful do you think the message is from English football, other sports and broadcasters in this collective effort to stop abuse online?
Well, we'll see. Like I say, football, it seems to me over the last few years, it seems to be attaching itself to virtually everything that happens in life. Sometimes with good measure, sometimes not. In this case, social media is massive in football, so it's fair to say it can bring awareness. If that awareness knocks onto the powers that the companies, the powers that cover these companies, the governance and all the varying things that are in place or possibly could be enhanced, then that can only help.
Now, David Moyes said that this is the new West Ham when they last played you back in January, as that 1-0 win put them 3 points off those Champions League places where they still find themselves today. Would you agree with Moyes' comments? And what do you put West Ham's success down to this season?
Well, I've always had respect for David Moyes. He'd done amazing at Everton, had a tougher period for different reasons, very, extenuating circumstances at times. Done well at West Ham, I thought, the first time round, and went back there and has done even better. So that is a clear thought of mine. I know his staff reasonably well as well, especially Stuart Pearce. So there's a good group of people there for starters. I think he's moulded the team into maybe a stronger work ethic and maybe a stronger, not physically. I mean, I'm not mentioning workload literally, but just that kind of edge to their performances, and they've become a bit more dogged defensively, it seems to me. But they can attack well. They've got players who can open up the opposition, and they've found a really good balance. A bit of a trickier time lately, but a good outfit, and I think he's definitely played his part in making sure they have remained a consistent outfit during this season. So another tough game, but they all are in the Premier League.
Thanks, Sean. Good luck on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie. We'll go to Dan next. Dan, you'll be sharing your line.
Oh, I can't wait, Dan. What you got? Social media? Good lad.
Hello, how are you?
Splendid.
Nice to
Joyous
see
form.
you. Any lookalikes for me today, or are we just going to get on with it?
Only you looking exactly like the Elephant Man, as I tell you every single week. Sometimes Jesus.
A child's drawing of Jesus was the precise quote.
That's a fair one, yeah. A child's drawing of Jesus, yeah.
I don't know whether... let's not go there.
It'd be flat with no personality. That was the idea of a child's drawing. That's what it'd be, like you.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I said that bit out loud. That was meant to stay in.
That was your inner monologue, was it?
Possibly.
Just want to pick up a little bit on some of the stuff you said after the Wolves game and that you've touched on today. When you have a performance like that, do you always know you've got it in you with this group of players? Have you always felt that they are capable of performances and, crucially, results like that, and it's just not necessarily all falling into place at the same time?
So ever since I've been here, I've always felt that the group are capable on any given day, but most are in the Premier League. That's why they're in the Premier League. It's always been for me finding the consistency of performances. And I must say, I mentioned it, I thought with good measure before the game, because the last 3 games I thought we'd perform well. It's a strange one, I know, when people say, well, you didn't win one. Of course, I get that. But sometimes you have to look beyond results at what you're actually looking to do and how the team are performing. I think they're performing very well. Winning away in the Premier League is tough anyway. Winning away 4-0 is even tougher. But massive credit to the players. I mentioned early season, big suggestions about we're not scoring goals, and our forwards are not scoring goals. Not too many suggestions about our injury list, but a lot about that. They and we corrected that. We found a better balance with the defending side of the game. And since, mixed in with getting players fit or certain players fit, and then all of a sudden we've had a stronger show of ourselves. So, like most teams in the Premier League, on any given day, when you're really at the top of your performance, which we certainly were, then you're a good outfit. You're at least a competitive outfit, which I said I've always wanted us to be. And when we hit them real peaks, then we are a good outfit and we can win games in the Premier League. The consistency is the key. How many times over a season can you really hit that mark? The big clubs and the big superpowers do it more often, quite obviously. That we're still a work in progress, and the players know that, and I know that.
How difficult is it to have a 90-minute performance and be kind of switched on and focused for every second of 94, 95 minutes when you can be punished kind of so harshly by the quality of players in this division?
Yeah, I think the idea of the focus is important for sure. And the idea of trying to dominate, I mean, not always dominate literally with the ball in the possession side, but, you know, the feel of a game is very difficult in the Premier League. You know, we often forget, even when we were playing very well, you know, Wolves, to be fair, had a softer performance than what I've seen from them. That can happen. But it's very, very difficult to dominate, the feel of a game, let alone the literal side, the stats of a game. You know, because the Premier League got very good sides in it. And that's what sometimes people forget. They talk about, you know, we have a bad day or whatever. They sometimes forget that the opposition you're playing are very high quality. And I've always had a respect for the Premier League and all the teams that are in it, because anyone who's earned the right to be in the Premier League must be a good outfit, in my belief, because you can't cheat your way into it. You have to win enough games and get through the Championship to get into it. And once you're in it, then you've got to show your hand and show that you're capable. And it's a tough ask. So, you know, we've never made big statements about what we want to do and how we want to play and all the rest of it. But what we have done is made it clear we'll be ready to work and we'll be competitive and we'll work for everything that we can get. And that remains to be the underbelly of the side. And what my belief is in football, you have to earn the right. Simple as that.
With that in mind, how big an achievement is it to be contending for European places, as you did a couple of seasons ago and got into Europe, and as West Ham are doing this season?
Yeah, I mean, they're two different kinds of clubs, quite obviously. You know, they've got a strong hand financially, but must make it clear you've still got to turn players into or increase their individual capacity to work as a team. And I think David and his staff have definitely done that. I think that's obvious. They've brought in some key players who have done very well, amongst players who have done very well over a few years at West Ham. Ourselves, we constantly try to rinse drops out the players and encourage them to rinse drops out themselves as individuals as well. I think they do very well with that. We try and play our part. We try and add where we can, and we know that's a question mark for the future. We'll wait and see on that side of things as regards recruitment and signing players. But the players here, I believe, should have tremendous respect in the game, because whenever they're challenged, whenever they're not, they come out and they put on performances and we can win games. And that sounds easy. It's not easy winning games, you know, and I have great pride in my players. You know, people talk about when you're winning. I have great pride in my players when we're not, because they give a lot to the cause here.
How much more do you think you can get out of them? You talk about getting little drops out of them. Is there a limit to that?
Well, it's not me. I can only guide them to what I think is right. It's them that, you know, extend themselves. It's them that put themselves on the line to improve and to get stronger. I mean, you know, there's some key players here, quite obviously, who often get the headlines, and with good reason. You know, your Tarkis, your Nick Popes, and Woody more so lately, and Dwight McNeil. But some of the stories behind that, you know, the growth of Ben Mee as a player. Charlie Taylor continues to improve, in my belief. Jack Cork, you know, older players still improving. Westy, I mean, Westy's been a shining example of a player who came in with an incredible attitude to keep learning and keep improving. Plays forward now, puts the ball at risk more, shows his quality more. You know, he's more of a continuity player now. He's a player who can affect games. And, you know, I think that's fantastic to see them players, regardless of age. You know, if you have players who work so hard at their game. You know, in my original time here, Michael Duff, congratulations to him, by the way. Fantastic what he's done down at Cheltenham. So I don't forget that he'll get big-headed and tell me that I've forgotten him. But the point is, you know, he was one. He still wanted to learn. He still wanted to improve. You know, so many good stories of that. And that's one of the best parts of my job. One of the most enjoyable parts is when these players, regardless of age, continue to improve. But it's massive credit to them. We can only guide them as a staff. I can only give my opinion as a manager. It's down to them to take it and run with it.
I'm in danger of this being a recruitment question, and I know from experience that that's not a good idea. But how do you identify that trait?
We're not linking with him. No, we're not going to sign him. We're not linking with him.
I was going to say
Danny Ings. No, we're not linking with him either.
I'll just do a list. No, I was going to say developing players. How do you identify that in a player when he isn't in your group?
No, that's really difficult. But that's for everyone, by the way. That's not just for us. Every manager out there, they always talk about it. You know, aware of what they can do now, but what can they do when we get them in the club? And that's you know, that's the hardest part of recruitment. You know, you look for markers, you look for signs, you look for sometimes the history of a player, you know, knowing what their background is. But, you know, some players naturally fit in a club. We've all seen that, where players just hit the ground running. Some take time and they sort of blend into a team over a period and find consistency how the team operate, and some never quite come through. That is one of the key sort of thoughts behind, recruitment is how you get the ones who can blend and can mature into what you do, and it's a really difficult task. I think over my years we've actually found a way of doing it. Regardless of no finance, no budgets, and things like that, but we have found a way. It is difficult whether you've got money or not. By the way, it's difficult. People presuppose money solves everything. It does somewhat, of course. But it doesn't solve everything. There's a lot of money spent on players who never quite fit at clubs. And I can assure you, them teams who do that have scouted them players. They've done everything they can to try and align that player to fit. And sometimes it just doesn't work.
And as far as younger players are concerned, under 23s academy, particularly under 23s players being around the first team as they have been this season, how much can they learn from the senior players and their willingness to get better, even if they're 35 or 25 or 18?
Well, they certainly have to learn here. We've got a good group of pros who rub off on them, so they learn that very quickly. There is a demand, but I think there's a healthy demand here. There's not, when I was growing up, you got a demand that was slightly different, let's say. So it's a bit more nurturing now from the older pros here, certainly for myself and the staff. A lot of it is the natural maturation of a player as well. When they come into the first team, we certainly don't overwhelm them. We don't give them endless amounts of information and feedback. We just let them learn gradually and slowly. Some pick it up quicker, and the ones who don't pick it up as quick as we like, we obviously add a bit more on. But sometimes often in fact, it takes time. It takes time for young players to blend into what you do and to learn from what you do. And I think that is one of the key things. How much time can you buy with the players who are your mainstay to allow these younger players to mature into what they're hoping to achieve, which is to be Premier League players?
Would it be fair to say there was a bit more stick than carrot when you were a young lad at Forest?
It's fair to say there was a little bit more stick than carrots, generally in football life, I would say. Not about Nottingham Forest, trust me.
Thank you.
Never did us any harm, though,
Hello, Clarets fans. Phil Bird here. Make sure you subscribe to Burnley's official YouTube channel and turn on notifications. Otherwise, you might miss moments like this. Oh, what a goal! And Wood was there to finish it.
You're spitting Glenn Little, look at us.
We hope you enjoyed the video and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Up the Clarets.